Crank up the volume and get ready for real-world bird hunting by listening to the Wingmen Podcast by Eastman's. Now your host, Todd Helms.
Hey, Wingmen. Welcome to another episode of the Wingmen Podcast by Eastman's. And today's guest is Chuck Bellmore. Chuck, how you doing, man?
Doing great, buddy. Doing great.
I really appreciate you having me, or you having the time, making the time to come on the podcast. I've heard Chuck Bellmore stories for probably 3 weeks in the office now.
I hope that's good stories.
They're all good.
Good.
No, I hear that you have like lots of good life advice, marriage advice, life hacks.
I try. You know, I've got a loving wife that's been with me for, gosh, don't get me started here, 21 years now. It'll be 21 years this year. And I try to portray that everything's just smooth as silk. But you know, if you hunt and you fish, especially if you do it as much as I do, you're going to have ups and downs. So what I try to do is any young man that'll listen to me, I try to tell them, look, I've been there, I've done that, I've figured out a better way to skin this cat. Listen to me. You know, I try to save them a little bit of the grief that I've went through and my buddies have went through and we've learned from.
Yeah, I hear you there. I heard there's you have a secret for finagling more money into your hunt plans. Something about getting a car detailed or
yeah, that was one of my favorite ones. For Valentine's Day, just tell your wife, you know, let her drive your truck to work and you take her car and tell her you're gonna have it detailed. Well, you just take it and run it through the car wash, the tunnel car wash. Like here, it's $8. Well, you know, to get a car detailed, it's usually about 150. Well, then you bring it home. When she comes home that afternoon and says, "This sucks. These guys did a terrible job." You say, "Yeah, honey, they did. They did a terrible job. You know, $150. I'll never use that guy again." Well, then you got, you know, $140 to go hunting on this weekend. So, you know, it's just little things like that to keep everything kosher without anybody getting mad about it.
I love it. That was one of the things. Of course, everything's secondhand. You know, I'm hearing these Chuck Bellmore stories, and I'm like, okay, I got to get this dude on the podcast and figure this stuff out. But you're way more than one-liners, man. Tell us about who is Chuck Bellmore.
Well, it's a complex story, but it's a good one. I'll be honest with you. I'm a 48-year-old plumber that lives in West Georgia. And just by the grace of God, I got into the outdoor industry and started making, you know, we started out making YouTube videos on bowfishing. And, you know, growing up as a kid, I always watched Bill Dance and Orlando Wilson and stuff on Saturday morning. And honestly, growing up, all I wanted to do was fish. I thought that was just the greatest job ever. Well, the older I got and the more I fished and I hunted, I just fell in love with hunting more than fishing. It was that final, I don't want to say the kill, but there's just something about the finality of it of I won this game. And, you know, then when you put in the substance side of it and the trophy aspect of it, it just built on and built on and built on. And then it just opened up so many different things, you know, to where as a kid, I felt like, well, if I've caught one bass, I've caught them all. You know, whether I go to California and catch a largemouth or I go to West Georgia and catch a largemouth, it's still largemouth bass. Well, the hunting aspect opened up a whole lot of things. You know, it's like all the different species of turkeys or all the different species of ducks or all the different species of big game. And so my mind just started to wander the older I got. And once I got into college, I started just kind of meeting people from around the, you know, United States and really from the Southeast. And opportunities started opening up. And I was just crazy enough to, you know, eat peanut butter and jelly sandwiches and a thing of pork and beans and put every dollar I had in the gas tank and go do stuff with people that said, hey, man, if you ever want to come out here and, you know, shoot a Rio, come on. Well, come Thanksgiving or, you know, whatever, I'd say, well, you going home this weekend? You know, yeah, I'm going to go back to my house and deer hunt. Well, you know, is the invitation still good for deer hunting? So off I'd go to Texas, you know, for the weekend to deer hunt. But just long story short, I got into the hunting industry kind of by mistake and by accident. The housing market, when it crashed in 2008, I was really doing good and successful in the plumbing industry. I thought I was set, going to be retired by the time I was 45, but Uncle Obama had a different plan for me, and I lost everything. Well, I took my last $30,000 and bought a camera and started producing, little YouTube videos and little bitty, like we did a DVD, and just one thing led to another, man. And I met the right people, and I got lucky.
Wow. That's crazy. So $30,000 was your nest egg, and you just went with it. What were some of the first things that you did?
Well, like I said, I sat around here and twiddled my thumbs for 2 years, from 2008 to 2010. Honestly, I didn't draw a check, and people, they don't grasp the concept of, when you're a small business owner, everybody eats before you do. And when I say everybody, I mean the bank, your employees, your kids, your wife, everybody else. And, you're at the end and everything gets put on the backside. Well, I did that for 2 years. And then we got down, like I said, to the last little bit there. And my wife's like, what are we going to do? And I said, well, heck, sitting here trying to work for a living's not making it. So I said, we're going to roll the dice. I said, I'm going to take everybody's super consuming content because nobody was working. It's kind of like the pandemic, the way everybody took in podcast and took in everything digitally they could get. Well, the same thing happened in 2008 to 2010. We just didn't have as much content online as we got now. So first thing we did was we shot a bowfishing DVD. Me and a couple buddies of mine, John Justice, one of the guys that's on the show, and another guy that owned a bowfishing store over in Alabama. And we started selling DVDs like basically just like a rap star out of the back of the truck. We sold enough DVDs just in his little bowfishing store and kind of through friends online to get up enough money to get our first NWTF booth. And we went to NWTF and we took the biggest TV I had, took it off the wall, went to NWTF and set it up and started playing this bowfishing DVD. And everybody that come by is like, holy cow, that's awesome. And I'm like, well, hey, you want to buy a $15 DVD? Well, they did. Well, the next thing I know, like the second day we were there, one of the guys from Moose Media, the Pursuit channel, comes over there and they're like, you need to be on TV with this. Cause you'll see, I like to talk a bunch and cut up and have a good time. And he's like, man, you got the personality for this. You need to think about doing a television show. Well, I just kind of blew it off. And me and my buddies were just like, man, that's funny. Yeah, a TV show. That's a good one. Well, then when I went home, I started thinking about it and I'm like, man, maybe that guy's right, and like I said, just one thing kind of led to another. And I ended up that spring, met Caleb Copeland. He was working with Sub 7 Promotions at the time, and they were doing a Lee and Tiff show. And he reached out to me. He had seen some of our stuff on YouTube and said, hey, Lee and Tiff's going to be in Huntsville, Alabama. And would you like to take them out and do a bowfishing show? Well, I was just goo goo gaga. I'm like, Lee and Tiffany, heck yeah, this will be awesome. So we went out and filmed the first television show I ever did with those guys and had an absolute ball. Well, we ended up doing another one later on in the summer. And then they kind of took me in and gave me some good advice of how to, structure a show and basically produce a show, because Lee thought it was cool. He's like, this is really neat. It's going to take a pain in production to get this to where it's not just fish after fish after fish montage, kind of like a duck hunting show. He's like, because they all kind of look the same, but he's like, it's going to take a little production, but man, I think you can do this, and they were really candid with a lot of the dollar amounts, what it was going to cost on airtime and what I should pay and who I need to talk to and how I need to structure it. And, without them, I probably would have never had the confidence to jump in on it.
That's so cool. Yeah. I was looking at some of your social media, and you definitely get after the bow fishing, man. That is, you went right from turkeys this spring to bow fishing.
Yeah, that's our thing. Like it's hard for people to understand, but I eat, sleep, and breathe hunting. Like there's something about it. And my wife, I speak freely about this because my wife says it's true. But my ex-girlfriend, when I was in college, she was a psychology major. After being together with her for 3 years, she sat me down. She said, look, you really have a condition. And I'm like, huh? She said, you really do have an obsessive compulsive condition about the outdoors. And I thought, woman, you're crazy. Well, the more she explained it to me, the more I realized she was right. You know, she's like, think about it. When you have to stay at home and do something with me, or you have to go to work, or you have to do this, you're always mad and miserable. And all you can think about when you're doing that is, you know, I bet there's a deer walking by my stand, or I bet there's, you know, I bet the ducks come in here on this front, you know, or I bet the fish are spawning. And she was absolutely right. But I'm just one of those people that I love it. You know, you got professional athletes that love football and love golf. And I, in my mind, cannot comprehend how somebody can wake up in the morning and go, I'm gonna get that pitch today. I'm gonna get it down. I'm gonna go out here and I'm gonna throw 1,000 pitches until I get it down. I don't get it. But I wake up in the morning, and as soon as my feet hit the ground, I'm like, I wish I was hunting today and not going to work, you know? So I can understand there's something there.
It sounds like you and I are cut from the same cloth, brother. I tell you what.
Well, that's
wow.
it. You know, it's like a dog. You either got it or you don't. And I don't, you can't beat it in them, and you can't beat it out of them. They either want to hunt or they don't. And the ones that's got it. And the ones that don't, there ain't nothing you can do about it.
No, that is so true. And I think you're onto something with that too. When it comes to, we could take this into hunter recruitment. I mean, obviously a lot of different people get into hunting for different reasons. I'm sure you and I got into it very similarly. It was a family thing. It was something that I was raised with, and just tore up with it all the time, 24/7, consumed my thoughts from when I was a little kid till to this day. I still think about it all the time. And I wonder if some of the folks, excuse me, some of the folks that we get recruited into the hunting world, and I'm not saying everybody has to be like you and me, you know, everybody should do their own thing, but you can't beat it into somebody. They either are going to take to it and love it, or they're not.
Right. No, I agree with you too. And that's kind of the avenue I've taken with my children. I've got a little boy that's 13, and my little girl's just fixing to turn 16. And, you know, they both shot their first turkeys, and they both shot deer, and they enjoy it. They really do. But what's so great is when I walk in the door and I say, hey, you know, Gage or Gracie, you want to go deer hunting? They're like, is it going to be any good? And I'm like, well, it might be. And, you know, they kind of like, well, if it's going to suck, I'm going to stay at home. I can do this or I can do that. But anytime I walk to the door and I'm like, hey, guys, let's go bow fishing. Not even a question. They're changing clothes. They're ready to rock and roll. And to touch on what you said earlier about us jumping into bow fishing, that is why, like, that was my niche. And once I realized it, you know, I'm great friends with John Paul Morse, and his dad, Johnny Morse, is probably the most interesting person I've ever met, especially when it comes to outdoors. I've never met a true visionary that when you're around someone, it really, because like I said, I like to talk a lot, but very rarely will I just sit back and just go, golly, this guy's incredible. But he is one of those type of people. And building on that, I know that I don't have the opportunities to do for the outdoors and for conservation what Johnny has done, but I found my niche through bow fishing, and it was women love it and kids love it. And it's because it's action, it's warm, they don't have to be quiet, it's on the lake a lot of times, you can go wading, you know, it's not very expensive. So that was one of the reasons I laser focused on that in the beginning. It was like, hey, this is my niche, I'm good at it, and these people listen to me because they deem me as a bow fishing expert, which I'm not an expert, but I'm good at it. And so, like, we got these kids and the girls, and they just love it. And it's like that's their gateway drug hunting side of it. You know, they're like, well, hey, I had a good time going bow fishing. Maybe I'm going to try turkey hunting, or maybe I'm going to go duck hunting now. So that's what kind of got me on to the being hot headed into the bow fishing side of it.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, I think you're onto something there with being a gateway. Whenever you can find something that is fun, fast paced, loaded up. You know, I'm the same way. I have little kids, but if I'm like, hey guys, we're gonna go do this, they're because it's, you know, we're gonna go hunt antelope. They know that means a full day of the truck riding around, glassing lots, hiking, you know, and it's kind of like, I don't know. But if I tell
Yeah.
them, we're going to go down to the duck blind for a little while, that means powdered sugar donuts and hot chocolate and lots of action, and the dogs are there and they get to eat whatever they want. Yeah. It's gotta be both, man. You gotta hook them.
That's it. And today, you know, I try to keep an open mind. You know, but things are different. How old are you?
I'll be 44 next week.
Okay, I'm 48. So we're right there in the same category.
Right.
You know, they say each generation has their own, you know, problems and hurdles. And I believe it, you know, when we're looking at trying to get kids in the outdoors right now, you know, we have to remember that not only is it harder to get them out there just because the access and all the other obvious things that are there now, the hurdles to jump through, but children, there is nothing in their life as slow paced as it was when you and I grew up. Mm-hmm. You know, I grew up watching Saturday morning cartoons and Bill Dance. Well, now they have a million
and outdoors.
Yes. Yeah, there you go. Yeah. in the Wild Kingdom, you know, and now kids have so much to choose from. Like I use Instagram or TikTok, and Instagram. I mean, those reels are 30 seconds. And you know, it's just like boom, boom, boom. And it's just, well, it's hard to take a kid and set them down for 3 hours and say, sit still, don't make a move, don't make a sound, and them just latch onto it. I'm not saying there's some kids that don't just love it, you know, like you and I, probably it's right up our alley. But if we would have been born at a different time, and it might have been harder to get us into that outdoor realm just because it's so slow paced, you know. And that's why I love turkey hunting and duck hunting. Now I love big game stuff, but man, you know, if you give me an opportunity to go sit in a duck blind or climb up a tree and hang off the side of it like a monkey and shoot a whitetail, I'm like, can we do both? Can I shoot ducks in the morning and go whitetail hunting in the evening? You know, I'm going to try to finagle it around where I can get both of them, you know?
No, you are spot on 100%. Obviously being attached to the Eastman side of things, I absolutely loved a big game hunt, but man, waterfowl, bird hunting in general, you know, waterfowl, I kind of lump it all together with turkeys and waterfowl and upland bird hunting. It's just, man, if there's shotguns and or dogs involved, I'm in.
Exactly. I'm right there with you. It's just, it hits a different side of your, you know, your persona. It's just something about it that's what you need to satisfy that.
Yeah, no, there's nothing quite like a good morning in the duck blind. We're cutting YouTube videos right now, everything from last winter, getting them prepped for release throughout the year, and just having the chance to sit back and watch some of that stuff again it's fun, man. It's cool. Oh, so yeah. you do obviously, you know, bow fishing videos, all that stuff. What else? There's more to Chuck Bellmore than just that.
Yeah, we do everything. You know, we do a couple of different things. Our major two things now is a show we do digitally called The Hunting Habit. Yep. And then we're also working on a brand new series called Make It Happen. And I'm really excited about that. We've done The Hunting Habit for a couple of years. It's parked on Mossy Oak Go. You know, like I said before, it's just a hodgepodge of different stuff, everything from bow fishing to antelope, you know, duck hunting, turkey hunting, you name it, we do it all on there. Shooting hogs at night with thermal, coyotes, everything. But this new show we're working on called Make It Happen is basically just like we were talking about earlier, is these guys that love to hunt, but they live in, like, take it for me, for example, when we did it from my point of view, I live in West Georgia. Well, we have a little bit of turkey hunting, a little bit of, you know, whitetail hunting, but besides that, I mean, I'm just kind of pigeonholed on what I can do if I stay here. Well, what we got tired of hearing is all these guys say, man, it must be nice. You know, all the friends I grew up with and people I meet, like, man, it must be nice to be able to go and shoot a Rio this weekend in Texas. So, you know, I would explain to them, I'm like, well, look, you know, I got $350 in that trip. Now, I didn't eat out every night, and, you know, I didn't stay in the finest lodge, but I went out there and did a DIY hunt on a whitetail ranch where they don't give a crap about turkeys. They think they're nothing but corn eaters. And, you know, I fixed the guy's bathtub and everybody's happy. And people just don't think that you can do it like that. So we decided to make a show. We've been wanting to do it for a couple of years. And finally this year, we teamed up with Black Rock Coffee and Aim Point and Mossberg. And then our other sponsors, we've worked together with Bass Pro and Cabela's and Fairdyne for so long. They're just like, do whatever. We know it's going to be good. Just do it. We trust you. And so we actually got some extra funding this year, and those guys were all excited about it. So it worked out really good. But that's what we're working on now. And we just got back off the road. We did a week and a half trip. We started in South Texas, a turkey tour. We left South Texas, went to Kansas, and then left Kansas and went to Nebraska. And just basically kept everything on a budget and showed people how you could do it for just basically pennies on the dollar, and I'll go ahead and tell you the gist of the thing is, everybody gets 2 weeks off work. And if you're a serious turkey hunter and you want to try to get your slam, you can start in South Texas and go get your Rio and go to Kansas and either get an Eastern or a Rio there if you didn't work in Texas. And then you can go to Nebraska and you can get all the other three there. And then after that, all you're worried about is your high dollar one, which is going to be your Osceola. But we said, take $3,000, 2 weeks off of work, which everybody gets for vacation. Take $1,000, send your wife to the beach with the kids for a week. And then you go dirt cheap and start either knocking on doors or trading out stuff and just work your way up. And we kept up with everything, documented everything, how we did it and what we traded out and everything else. So it worked out pretty good. Them shows are starting to come out, so they'll be out by next week. And
people can see those on Mossy Oak Go. Where else can they catch them?
No, those are actually going to live on Carbon TV right now, okay. YouTube, and that'll be the two main places for them right now. And then, of course, we're going to push them straight to our social media sites too, on Instagram and Facebook. And we get so much engagement on social media. It's hard just to park them in one place anymore. And even like Carbon, when you load up your stuff on there now, they're not even requiring exclusivity anymore. It's just because they know everybody's parking stuff everywhere. So it works out good. Just where everybody can get their hands on it's what we want it to be.
Yeah, more eyeballs you can put it in front of, the better. It makes everybody happy. You got the people that are consuming it are happy because they're getting entertainment value out of it and some knowledge. Obviously, you got the DIY side of it. It sounds to me like you guys are kind of on the secret sauce a little bit there. I love that idea of showing people that, hey, look, everybody can do this stuff. It's hunting's getting the bad rap of becoming a rich man's game, and it's not. You can still do a lot of DIY stuff.
100%. And that's, you'll see if you follow along our series, we kind of build up to this, but it all revolves around relationships, and my degree is in sociology, and you'll see that all the stuff we do, there's always a little bit of that touch in there. Not only do I want to show somebody how they can do it, how they can be successful, and why they should do it as far as being fun and, for conservation, but also I show it to teach people a little bit of lesson in life. And that's what this whole series is at the end of the day, everything that we do is about relationships, whether it be my relationship with Eastman's or my relationship with you or my relationship with my sponsors, or just some guy, a farmer that I meet at the post office on Saturday morning. A lot of people don't understand when you go to these small towns, there's two places every rich farmer goes to on Saturday, the post office and the bank. You go sit at either one of those in your camouflage and sit there eating a biscuit and drinking a Diet Coke and with Georgia plates, and they're going to pull in, and when they look and see that truck with Georgia plates, they're going to go, and the first thing I'm going to say is, are you lost or can I help you? There comes the conversation. And like I said, I love to talk. I'm like, no, sir, I just thought I might be able to find the richest farmer in town up here that's having a problem with deer eating his crops. And then they start talking, and the next thing you know, I got 5,000 acres to hunt. Because they're like, you drove all the way up here from Georgia without anywhere to hunt? And I'm like, yeah, I played football without a helmet in high school. And they start laughing. And next thing you know, like I said, you're over there, having a cold beer with the guys at lunch, and you got 5,000 acres to hunt, So there's just all kind of different ways, but stuff like that it just gets me going and gets me excited. But it's always killed me because people give up so easy. And like our tagline is find a way or find an excuse. And guys will go out of their way to find an excuse why they can't go do something that you did, but then criticize you for, man, it must be nice, big money. Or, if I didn't have to work, and I'm like, well, dude, I got 2 jobs, that ain't an excuse there, So that's it in a nutshell.
No, you're spot on, man. That is very true. You know, we just got back from, we don't film a ton of turkey episodes, but try to get one, maybe two a year, for what we do. And we just wrapped up in Montana last week, and my job here at Eastman's didn't stop because I was up there filming turkey hunting.
Exactly.
I was working, you know, on my phone and on a laptop, and the only place you had service was in one spot and had Wi-Fi, and you know, one life doesn't stop because you're doing something else.
That's exactly right. And nowadays, you know, very rarely are you out of service completely. You know, like some places we hunt, we might be out for half a day, but sooner or later you're going to come into service, and it's that discipline of sitting down and going, hey, I got to stop right here. I got to do this. I got to do this. I got to do this. I got to return this call. I got to return this text. I need to send this guy an email. But that all goes back to that being a good person, that golden rule: treat somebody like you like to be treated, and just do what you say you're going to do. And it's amazing when you do that, the opportunities that roll down the hill to you. That I see people that don't return phone calls, or don't return text, or don't close a gate, you know, or don't fix something if they said, yeah, we'll fix it before we leave that ranch. They don't get those opportunities offered to them because people are like, okay, you just show me what kind of person you are. And that's like I said, that's the underlying theme of this whole show: is be a good person, do what you say do, and these are the opportunities that's out
there. And that's a great context. I'm gonna definitely have to look those up, but we will put links in descriptions and share whatever we can share, man, because I know I want to check that out, and I know what people listening are going to want to see that too, because you're resonating with something that I believe in wholeheartedly, and it's come up time after time after time on this podcast, is relationships. You know, whether it be your work relationships, your relationship with your family, relationship, like you said, with people that you meet on the street, strangers. But the one thing that connects all of us in the hunting industry, in the hunting world, I hate saying the word industry, but kind of, it makes sense, you know, whatever. But the one thing that connects us is our stories. And those stories are centered on relationships, you know, and, you know, you and I are sitting here having a conversation. Who knows where this is going to lead? We may find ourselves in a duck blind next December.
I hope so.
I do too.
Yeah.
I do too. That'd be a lot of fun, you know. But it just, every single person that I talk to, it comes up one way or another.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. You know, and it is a breath of fresh air to do what we do. And I thank God every day that I get the chance to do it and meet people like y'all that are just like-minded and great individuals. And this is what I always try to remember when I'm meeting someone new, or, you know, when I look at the hunting industry or the hunting world every day. You know, you and I go home tonight, and our wives and our families come in and they click on the TV, and all they see is, you know, confrontation. People don't like people. You know, you can't go here without getting mugged, or you can't go here without getting shot. And black people don't like white people don't like brown people don't like yellow people, and red people don't like green people. And the media just tells you nobody likes anybody. But as soon as you leave your hometown and you go to, you know, Waco, Texas, and you meet a guy at the hardware store, and, you know, you make friends with him, and he doesn't know you from Adam. You're just like, wait a minute, that stuff they say on the news every night, that's not real. That's not real life. Well, then you leave there and you drive to Kansas, and you go to the local butcher shop, and you go in there and say, hey, man, I'd like to, you know, talk to you about buying some of your best steaks. And the guy's like, well, that accent, where are you from? Well, I'm from Georgia. What are you doing here? I come up here to see if I can find a place to turkey hunt. Well, guess what? The butcher of that town, he knows the biggest cattle farmer on that place. Guess what cows do? They eat grain, they crap grain. Guess what eats grain? Turkeys. Well, there you go. He says, hey, this is the guy you need to call. He's got more turkeys than I know what, you know, than anybody. And it's just, now you're friends with him, you know, and as long as you do what you say you're going to do, that's a lifelong friend that you got, that who knows, he might be in Georgia next year and need something. And that's just one of the things, like I said, that has got me so fired up about the whole thing, is like, You just don't ever know. And all the people that I've met through bow fishing and hunting, it's unreal. It's unreal. And 99% of them are freaking awesome people. I'm not saying there's not a crazy, arrogant butthole out there, because everybody knows that one guy. But for the most part, you know, I about lay my hat on, you know, everybody else and say these are good dudes and good women that'll give you the shirt off their back.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think you're so right, Chuck, in that we're led to believe that we are all so different and that we're all so divided. And even in our hunting world, in our circle in the hunting world, it's like we're all on the same team, but man, we fight a lot. Man, we pick at each other a lot. You know, it doesn't matter if it's different, if it's another media company or if it's somebody else's show or if it's somebody wearing different clothes or shooting a different gun or, well, I can't believe you like to hunt turkeys. They're so stupid. Or, man, why would you ever, you name it, man, you name it. And we need to knock that off.
Well, you know, the hottest topic right now is the famine of turkeys, you know, reaping, famine, whatever you want to call it.
Yep.
And that goes to what you just said. You know, everybody's got their own opinions of it. You know, heck, we fanned 4 last weekend and I've been just ridiculed about it. I mean, on social media, guys are like,
right,
well, you know, I was a big fan until I seen you fanning that turkey on that golf course. And I'm like, well, I mean, if you don't like the technique I used, but it's the same outcome, you know, you can be critical of it. I understand, and I'm going to respect your opinion. But at the same time, you know, that would be the difference of me saying, well, you know, you really should use a 20 gauge for those geese and just let them get closer instead of using a 12 gauge, because you're not a purist if you don't let them get under 20 yards. Well, it's the same outcome. It's the same legal bag limit. And we're doing it for the same reasons, because that red stuff in our veins, that's hunting. That's why I'm doing this. That's why you do it. So why should we start splitting it up and going, yeah, but mine's better. My way's a better way than yours. So let's fight about it. You know, and I think, you know, Waddell touched on it a couple of weeks ago, and, you know, I didn't really pay a lot of attention to it because I hadn't really been jumped on about it. But this weekend when we posted some of the stuff about it, guys just went crazy. And I'm like, is it that big a deal? You know, is that really what we got to worry about?
Nope. Oh, it blows my mind how quick we all are to jump down somebody's throat or get on somebody's case because we don't like the way they did something. You know, the turkey hunt that we just went on, just came back from, birds had been all over this place. They dispersed. We couldn't get up there because the weather early in the season, they got a foot of snow. You know, it was like we're not even going to be, the roads are closed.
Yeah, I heard y'all had a lot of snow opening day.
We did. And we just didn't hunt. And so I was 2 weeks out putting it off. Next thing you know, it's like, okay, now we can go. Well, guess what happened? All those birds that they had all winter dispersed. They're gone. We found 2 mature gobblers in 4 days of hunting on thousands of acres. And they were hand up. Both those gobblers were constantly with hens. You think they'd come to a call? Nope. They gobble at you, but they're not going to get you. You're not going to get them to come. And man, we killed turkeys, but it was not the textbook setup. Call them in, bang bang, you know, double up. It was not the textbook way to do it. But we filled our tags. It was legal, and you know, we got it done, and it was what it was. And we got laughing about it on the ride home. It was like, man, that was a pretty unconventional hunt. You know, we killed one with a bow, one with a 12 gauge, and it was like, yeah, but it worked, and it was actually quite challenging the way we ended up having to do it. So yeah, but
well, you know, well, that's it. You know, and I'm the first to field the ball on this one right here. What you just said, there's nothing wrong with it. That's turkey hunting. The problem is, and like I said, I'm going to field the ball on this one. Me being part of the hunting industry for the hunting television side of it for 4 years on the Sportsman's Channel, I'm just as much to blame as Lee and Tiff, as Nick and Michael, as, you know, the juries, as everybody else. We have shown these guys, this is what turkey hunting is. You go sit down, you call, he flies down, he struts 150 yards in across a biologic food plot that's just manicured. He struts the whole way in, he gobbles, and then he comes to the decoy at 10 yards and puts on the show for 15 minutes. And then you pull the trigger and you get up, high five, do your cutaways and show your sponsors, and everybody's happy. Well, the problem is these younger hunters, they think that's the way it really works. You know, the guys that haven't hunted a lot. And I say that because my kids told me the same thing. Like when we first started deer hunting, they're like, Daddy, this spot sucks. I'm like, what do you mean? And they're like, well, y'all always see stuff every time you go in the woods. And I'm like, no. That's just deer. That's the way we show it on TV, you know, to keep people engaged and it's entertainment. But in reality, like you said, turkey hunting isn't, a turkey doesn't read the script every time. And some of the guys that I know that kill the most turkeys and that are the most passionate about a wild turkey, they laugh when they watch one of our shows. And they watch a turkey strut in for an hour, you know, all the way across this field. And then I'll let him get in there and turn around and gobble and strut and drum. And they're like, I'd have killed that thing 10 times by now, you know, but I'm like, it's different. Filming's different than just hunting. But I'm right there. I mean, I feel like I'm to blame for a lot of that because just like everybody, you know, we want to make it pretty. We want to make it as pretty as it can be. And hunting is not always that way.
No. And, you know, that's one of the things that I appreciate about the Eastmans, and I've appreciated about their brand for a long time, and why I wanted to get tied in with them was that it you know, it's real. They show what's real, and we try to do the same thing with Wingmen, and it's sometimes that real isn't very pretty.
Right. Well, I always say we'll try to carry it over with some jokes and some good laughs. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
So if we got to hurry up something, we got a little something extra there to pad it.
Oh man, no kidding. Well, I heard you talked about a little bit, but I heard that you just recently got home from a turkey bender, as you called it.
Yeah, we did. Like I said, we ended up doing really good and got in and crammed about a 5-day work week into 3 days, and ended up having to go to Missouri for the U.S. Open, which is Bass Pro Shop's biggest bow fishing tournament in the country. And we ended up having to be there this weekend, which worked out really great because their turkey season was open. And JP and his family, you know, of course, they own some golf courses there around Branson, which is where they had the fishing event. So we were able to smooch in on some golf course turkeys that never get harassed or anything. So it was just an absolute ball. You know, we got to cut up and drive around on the golf course and in the golf carts and go in the clubhouse and camouflage. You know, we're there at one of Tiger Woods' golf courses shooting turkeys off the greens, and people are just like, I can't believe this. And I'm like, this is the epitome of redneckness. You know, this is it right here. But it was awesome. The turkeys did great. You know, they wasn't hand up, and it was just dang good. 4 states in 2 weeks, and now I'm back home in Georgia, and we've got 2 weekends left, and we're completely greened out. Thunderstorms all weekend, but I'm gonna be after them. I don't know what's gonna happen yet, but we're gonna see.
I'm jealous, man. That's awesome. And we finally hit some springtime weather here. It got up to almost 80 out here today, and everything's greening up. We still have almost a month of turkey season left.
Good dude.
Yeah, so I'll get after them somewhere here in Wyoming. It'll be fun, but it seems like every year we have these big plans to go on these, like you did, or some road trip someplace. And the Rocky Mountain West in the springtime is one weather event after another, it seems like. Yeah. So
well, it's always been that way. Anytime I've ever hunted out there, it's the highs and lows. Yeah. You know, it's 30 degrees one day and 80 the next. And I'm like, golly, how do these people and these animals adjust, you know? Because it's just constantly, like you said, up and down.
Yeah. Well, we feel the same way about you guys. It's like, how do you breathe in that humidity out down there?
Yeah. That's it. Every bit of it's got its own set of difficulties for sure.
Oh, that's so true. Yeah, that's so true. But yeah, man. So what do you got going now? Are you pretty much just bow fishing for the rest of the summer, spring and summer?
Yeah. Like I said, we work with Faradyne products. You know, they own Rage, Muzzy, Nocturnal Knox, Muzzy Bow Fishing. They're really big into bow fishing. when they purchased that brand, Muzzy was one of the strongest brands out there, and they really shored it up when they purchased it. So all the guys that are over there now, from the vice president all the way down, they love the bowfish. So they're really strong into it. So they've got their big tournament coming up the first of next month down in Vicksburg, Mississippi. So that'll be our next public event. But in between now and then, just we'll be chasing turkeys until the end of the season here in Georgia, bow fishing when we can slide it in, and then off to the NRA show. We'll be at the NRA show at the end of the month there in Houston. Looking forward to that. That's always a good event. I love getting out and seeing everybody. The NRA show is a total different breed of person that, and I say a different breed of person. There's just a different type of person than your average hunting show brings out. I always say you bring out the rich white guys. It's funny, but it's so funny because they're just totally, a lot of them don't really know a lot about hunting. So I love going and working with our sponsors. I'll be there with IRA Thermal and Mossberg and Black Rifle Coffee. But you go and you get to talk to a lot of these guys, and a lot of them don't know a lot about hunting, and they're just hungry for knowledge. And whereas if I go to NWTF or I go to SHOT Show or something, most of the guys there, they're pretty affluent in hunting language, and they pretty much know what's going on. Well, when you go to NRA, those guys are just hungry. They want to know, like, well, what do I need to go to hunt this, or what would you suggest to do this? And they're really wanting to know because they know about guns, but they don't know about how to go hunt with them. So I always look forward to that show, but that'll be in Houston this year. But besides that, we're going to be doing some prairie dogs, some thermal hog hunting. Just get us all the way through the summer, and then we'll jump right into the early, teal and dove, and then jump right into big game.
That's sweet, man. I'll have to have you back on and we can talk ducks when you start doing that. That sounds like a heck of a good time, heck of a good summer. That NRA show sounds really interesting too. I bet, like you said, you meet some really interesting people there.
Oh, you do. Every time I've went, President Trump was at the last one I attended before COVID and everything, and it's just it's a celebration of the Second Amendment, and you always say, well, that's our people, but it really is. But it's just a different, I don't want to say a genre, or it's just a different feel than your average hunting show. But the people love it, and it's a celebration of America.
Oh, that sounds awesome. That sounds absolutely incredible. Oh, that is super cool. But when you're out, so I got to ask you this question: when it comes to turkeys, what's your favorite one to hunt and why?
Man, I could go with the common answer, the one that gobbles, but I know what you're getting at. I would have to say the Rios, and the reason being is because I grew up hunting Easterns here in the South, in the timber. And, when I shot my first one when I was 14, and my dad was an over-road trucker. We didn't have a lot of money growing up, and he grew up deer hunting. And, I can remember the first time I ever heard a turkey gobble. He and I was on a little 48-acre piece of property my uncle owned here, which is 20 minutes from my house now. And we had like a 70-something model Ford truck, and the door squeaked real bad when you opened it up. And we drove down there to the field one night, and I don't even remember what we were doing. I think we were shooting 22s, and I got out and opened that door, and it went real loud. And this turkey just pounded on the limb, and I was like, and I looked, and my dad said, "Did you hear that?" And I'm like, "Yeah." Well, he took and just slammed the door, and when he did, it gobbled again, and we were both just like, "That's a freaking turkey." Well, back then, the only thing I knew about a wild turkey was I see all these hunting signs in Walmart and Kmart, $1,000 fine and/or 1 year in jail if you kill one. They were super protected because there wasn't that many. So for me to hear that turkey, it just was like, well, that's wild. Well, I'd never seen one in the woods or anything. Long story short, my kids, 7-year-old, my little girl was 7 years old. I take her down to that same piece of property, the same ridge. The first turkey she ever heard gobble was on that same field, on that ridge. My little boy, when he got old enough, the first turkey you ever heard on that same ridge. And so Easterns, I mean, I got a special place in my heart for them. But long story short, when I go out west, it's just the country that gets me intrigued. You know, the big sky, the little patches of woods, the things that you wouldn't think a turkey would roost in. They're 12 foot off the ground, where here they're 50 foot up in the air in a big oak tree or a big pine tree. And you hear them and you're looking, you're like, I know he's up there somewhere, and you can't ever see them. Well, out there, they can be anywhere. So, just out there, the lack of water, just seeing all the other animals, when you're out there hunting, I think the Rios really got my heart.
That's cool. That's cool. Yeah, I always try to ask a variation of that question. We'll keep it turkey specific for this episode, but that's cool. I've heard lots of great things about Rios. I haven't had the opportunity to hunt them myself, but they're on the list. That's for sure. I've heard that they're just crazy. They
are. They're, and I don't want to say they're easy to cheapen them, by no means.
Yeah.
But it's just, the older I get, the more I realize I don't have as much time as I did at one point in this life. And if they'll help me out making it successful, I appreciate every bit of it. You know what I mean? I appreciate it. I'm very appreciative of them being dumb, if that's what you want to call it. So
I don't think that I don't think there is such a thing as a dumb turkey. I think there's turkeys that are uneducated, but I don't think there's any dumb ones.
I agree with you. I say they are the luckiest animal in the world. I've never said they're the smartest, but they are the luckiest animal that I've ever crossed paths with.
Some of the stuff that they stumble their way into and out of, you're like, how does that work?
Yes.
It's just mind blowing and infuriating at the same time. You think you got a slam dunk on one, and the next thing you know, he just comes in with a tree between you and him the entire time, and it's like,
yep.
How does that happen? Walks in behind it, turns and walks away from you behind it.
Yeah. Might stick his head out one time to let you know that he knows you're back there, get right back behind that tree and walk off gobbling the whole time. And you're sitting there going, there's nothing I can do.
Nope.
Yep. That's it.
100%, man. 100%. Yeah. It's interesting because I'll go all year not really thinking all that much about turkey hunting, but then when it's time to turkey hunt, dude, I'm all in. It's like I can't get enough of it. It's all I want to do this time of year.
Yeah, it gets to the point where, like right now, I'm looking at it going, we got 2 weeks left, and I get that weird. And it's a weird way to think about it, but I'm like, I got to get as much of it as I can because it's going to be gone for a year. It's almost like I said earlier, it's an addiction to where you just want to gobble up as much of it as you can because you're not going to get it for a long time. So you're like, I don't care if it's thunderstorming or if it's windy. I'm just going to go try it because I know I'm not going to get to go again for a year.
Right. What's your bag limit there in Georgia?
They knocked us down this year to 2. We've been 3 forever.
That's what I thought.
With the decline nationwide, that's a whole nother can of worms. But with the decline nationwide, the Georgia DNR pushed our season back 2 weeks this year. We have a really long season. We usually go about 2 months, but they pushed us back 2 weeks this year in hopes that some of the mature birds would breed early. And then they lowered our bag limit to only 2. So we'll see what happens. We've been in a real bad decline, and it's been inexplicable, to be honest with you. You could get me, I'll talk about this for hours, and I wish I had, Dr. Chamberlain's degrees and his knowledge behind it, because I love reading his stuff and I love hearing his opinion on things. But my gut, this is the redneck plumber side of me, is there's more to the story we hadn't figured out yet. I don't know what it is, but there's something happening to all of our birds. There's something happening. I love to shoot crows. Like, I don't know if you know much about me, but like I despise a crow worse than anything. I hate a crow, and I love to shoot them. And during the fall, I'll spend a lot of time shooting crows because our duck hunting is so terrible. But the crows have declined in the last 20 years. And a lot of people don't realize that. And they blame it on the huge crow roost that used to be in Kansas and the Midwest. the feds come in and they would dynamite these huge roost sites when there was 10,000 crows in there roosting. Well, that was a long time ago. And now there's just not the numbers of crows like there used to be. Well, then you also look, there's nowhere near the number of quail. There's nowhere near the number of turkeys. There's nowhere near the number of ducks. And every segment of these feathered animals, there's a different group of people that say, this is the problem, this is the problem, this is the problem. You know, ducks, it's because we have dry pothole region, or quail, it's because the fire ants, or there's not enough native grasses, or turkeys, it's because the predation, crows, because they blasted all the roosting sites. Well, I look at it and paint it with a broad brush, and I'm like, wait a minute, all these things have declined that have eggs. Is there something in the corn? Is there something in the grain? Is there something that these birds are being exposed to that's keeping them from producing eggs? Or is there something else? Because I understand all the other research that's out there, but you know, the redneck side of me, the backyard scientist, is going, why is it just these feathered animals that we're having such a problem with? And then I look at the South, and I look at Kentucky, I look at South Carolina, I look at Georgia, Alabama, all these states that have allowed baiting in the last, couple of years, and their turkey populations are just plummeting. And I'm like, well, that kind of leads to maybe these turkeys are eating all this corn. Maybe it's hurting them, and I don't know, is it a fungus on the corn, or, and like I said, I don't know much about it, but I just feel like there's more to the story that we figured out. And I'm just hoping that somebody like Dr. Chamberlain or somebody that's working with NWTF will flip that last card over to where we can go, aha, there it is. But what scares me is I feel like we don't know yet. We're just kind of poking around in the fire, waiting for something to spark up, and we don't know what it is.
That's a really good point. We're working on a sage grouse project right now because they're same thing. It's declining, and there's no one thing. If there was a silver bullet, we wouldn't be having these issues. We'd fix it, but there isn't. And we're talking to biologists, and we're making film, and we're doing all this stuff to try to bring attention to this. Going, hey, there's a real problem here something's wrong, and it's tied in with our mule deer out here. It's tied in with prairie grouse on the plain states. There's lots and lots of different factors. And I think you're right, man. Hopefully one of these days like you said, we'll spark something up and go, okay, this is what we need to do to fix this problem. But until that happens, man, I don't know. I really don't. And we're the exact opposite out here when it comes to turkeys. They're still expanding their range out here, and there's turkeys every year showing up in places where they didn't exist before. But our turkeys get pounded on with weather so heavily and predators so bad that, we get one hard winter and you go and find piles of dead turkeys under roost trees in the springtime. Because it was 30 below for 2 weeks, and they froze to death. We're at the extreme edge of a wild turkey's range. You look at Miriam's turkey, for example. Yeah, historically they inhabited the Black Hills and down through Nebraska and parts of the Rocky Mountain West, but little pockets here and there. And now they're expanding and expanding and expanding to the point where there's birds in places there were never birds before. So hopefully we can put all those puzzle pieces together and figure this out.
Yeah. And that's why it's so important for us all to work together on stuff. And that's why, like, in my bio on Instagram, that's the one thing I put on there is support companies that support modern conservation. Because if we don't do something about it, they're not going to be here for my kids and for their kids. And that's the one thing that tears me up, because I just know the joy that I've gotten out of hunting and the stuff that it's the lessons it's taught me in life, the people that it's allowed me to meet. And if I don't do something to protect that, I couldn't sleep at night. You know what I mean? If I don't do something to help promote it. Now, granted, I love to shoot it. If they told me I could shoot 10, I'd shoot 10, but at the same time, if they tell me I can only shoot one, I'll be like, okay, if that's what you say, and the science supports it, I'll just shoot one. But we need to figure it out. And I don't know, it's kind of a scary place we are right now, because nobody can say definitely this is what's doing it, and it's just a weird place. I've never been in a place in the outdoors like I am now with the turkeys. And I don't think a lot of people have, you know. And now DU's talking about a terrible year for ducks. They're talking about reducing the bag limit. And, you know, and I'm just like, well, you know, if anybody's going to do it, it's going to be the hunters. We're the ones that did it the first time, and we'll be the ones to step up and carry the ball for this.
Yeah, no, you are spot on with that 100%. Yeah, it's really interesting what you say, because that just completely slipped through the cracks in my brain. Oh man. Where was I going with that? Back to what you said earlier about the turkey on the ridge, on the roost, and your 3 kids now, or your 2 kids, you know, 3 generations of people that one ridge. Dude, I was in the same boat when I was a kid. I lived way up north in Michigan. We didn't have turkeys. They didn't exist up there. They couldn't winter out up there. And Michigan in general didn't have a lot of turkeys back in those days. They did reintroduction efforts. They did all kinds of stuff. And it was a big deal to get a turkey tag and go hunt in a small geographic area where there were birds. And now there's birds everywhere back there, you know. But I remember a time when hunting a turkey was a big deal. It wasn't just something, you know, and we looked at you guys in the South, specifically Tennessee. It seemed like Tennessee was like the hotbed of turkey hunting forever, right? And it was like, well, someday I'm going to Tennessee to hunt turkeys. Someday I'm going to Missouri to hunt turkeys. And now you can hunt them all over the place. They are a massive success story, but they're in trouble. They need help. And I think you're spot on when you say it's all of us need to work together, using those relationships that we have built in order to figure out this problem, because it ain't just turkeys. I think you're right. I think it's all connected.
Well, that's it. And you know, who knows you know, what's going to be the missing link that ties it all together. I don't know, but there has to be something for it to be that commonality between all these animals that nest and have eggs, and now they're all in trouble, you know. And it's just, I don't know, it's just weird, you know. If you look across the board, the only thing that's even done really well in the recent history is the snow geese, you know. But what makes them impervious to whatever other problems going on, I don't know. But maybe it's where they nest or something, you know. But there's people smarter than me that I hope figure it out. That's what I'm thinking.
No, I'm right there with you. I am right there with you. I'm thinking, you know, I was fortunate enough to have Dr. Chamberlain on, and that man dude, that man is a fount of knowledge, and we need him and others like him working on that project to get it figured out, and we need to support them. We need to support that research with our dollars, with our tax dollars, with, you know, we need to keep buying hunting gear, keep buying bow fishing equipment, so that those Pittman Robertson dollars keep rolling in, so we can work on habitat projects and work on biological diversity studies and whatever we need to do to get it figured out. Because you're spot on, it's a problem, and we're gonna be the ones to fix it, because nobody else is gonna step up to the plate.
No, everybody else is worried about what bathroom to use, and you know, they're not worried about the wild turkey. So that's another podcast.
There's one of those famous one-liners right there. I tell you what. Oh, good night. Oh man. Well, I really appreciate your time, and I think we need to do this again, maybe around some duck season. And if you get an itch to scratch about coming out west, you holler at me, man. I'll have a duck blind or a turkey stand someplace that we'll go. I'd love to share some hunt time with you.
Well, definitely, and the feeling's mutual. You know, if you guys ever get a wild hair this summer and get bored and need to get a few credits out of the house and head south, we'll be glad to throw you on the airboat and let you shoot some fish or check some
well take you up on that. I tell you what, Dan Picar's sitting next door to me in the next office over, and he and I filmed a couple of years ago, a little carp shooting episode out here, not far away. And
y'all have some excellent stuff out there. Really good.
Yeah, when it floods up, we get the right amount of water and stuff floods, it could be ridiculous, you know. But I look at what you guys do, and that's big time, you know, and that looks like a lot of fun.
It's a blast, man. We'd love to have you.
Cool. Well, thank you, sir. I appreciate your time, and I'll catch you on the flip side.
All right, buddy. Thank you. My pleasure.